The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Once upon a time there was a fine little town called Hamelin, where all the people lived in peace and contentment. But a time came when they began to notice rats now and then in their fields and barns, and more until the rats began to swarm and ran through the town. They ate the grain put out for the horses and the cat's milk and the dog's bones, and more rats came until they began to sneak into the houses and eat people's bread and sausage and apples and cookies. And more rats came, and more. And they would scamper up into the kitchen cupboard and even onto the tables and eat the porridge from people's spoons. There were so very many that the cats and dogs and even the rat catchers couldn't keep up. And when people put out poison, the little beasts ate it up like candy. No one knew what to do. The mayor and the city council and all the important people in town met together and worried and wondered and talked and argued about how to get rid of the rats. But no one had an idea better than his neighbors, and the neighbors' ideas were no good at all. The great meeting in the city hall was almost ended, and the people sadder and unhappier than ever, when suddenly they heard a strange voice. "I'll get rid of you, rats!" And a long string of musical notes flourished and ended, and in his fingers he twirled a long silver flute pipe from which he had blown the music. The townspeople's eyes popped wide to see the strangest flute-playing piper any of them had ever seen. He was tall and slender, wearing strange leggings, and a top and cape and pointy shoes, and a long, pointy-tipped, pied-patterned cap that dangled down behind his head. "I'm the Pied Piper, and what will you give me to rid your town of rats?" The town people murmured and whispered and talked and thought and mumbled together, and finally the mayor said, "We'll pay you a sack of 100 silver coins if you can rid our town of rats." "Agreed," said the piper with a wink. Then he put the flute to his lips and piped the most wondrous tunes. Gracefully stepping and hopping and weaving and wandering through the town in a kind of marvelous dance, into the lanes and out the alleys, up the street and down the stairways, through the taverns and shops and mansions and huts, and everywhere he went, the rats cocked their ears and lifted their noses and wrinkled their whiskers and began to hurry after him. Out of flour barrels and egg baskets, from the baker's oven and the butcher's sausage grinder, they skittered and scamped and rolled and romped, first 3 and 4, then 9 and 10, and dozens, till hundreds streamed after him, leaping in waves like a roaring river of rats, and he led them down to the water's edge, where they came so fast that they tumbled after him into the water, plipping and plopping, splishing and splashing, heaving and shoving from behind so hard and so fast that they drove themselves deep, deep below, never ever to be seen again. And that was the end of the rats. Well, the townspeople were delighted. They could slide an arm in a sweater without pushing out a rat, or jam a foot into a boot without a toe getting bitten. Their town's happiness and peace and contentment had returned. "Master Mayor," said the Pied Piper, "I've come for my money." The townspeople gathered and mumbled and grumbled and hemmed and hawed, and they and the mayor all nodded their heads together. 100 silver coins is such a lot," said the mayor. "Won't you take 80? Or 60? Or half? Or maybe even less? Suppose we pay you 1 nice, shiny silver coin. Wouldn't that be nice?" "You agreed to pay me 100, said the piper. "But "Now the rats are gone," said the mayor, "and perhaps now we don't need to pay you even 1 silver coin." "Beware how you bargain," said the Pied Piper. "If you won't pay what you agreed, it may cost you even more." "Ah, begone, you homeless vagabond," said the mayor. "The rats weren't welcome in Hamelin town, and neither are you. We won't pay you a penny." "Very well," said the Pied Piper. Then he lifted the flute to his lips and piped even more wondrous tunes than any the townspeople had ever heard before. Light and bouncing and joyous and fun, and the Pied Piper wove his way through the town, past the schools and nurseries, the playrooms and parks and backyards and playgrounds and swimming pools. And wherever he went, the children's ears perked up, and they tilted their heads, and their eyes shone, and their hearts lifted, and they felt their feet getting lighter, and they skipped and hopped and danced after the Pied Piper, laughing and shouting and joining hands, traipsing down the lanes and streets and avenues out of the town toward a high hill, following the Pied Piper. And from out of the cloudy sky shot a sunbeam, on which he set his foot, and away he drifted up into the sky, and the children after him, laughing and singing, full of joy, rising up into heaven where the townspeople couldn't follow, only their eyes watching as the children disappeared and the song gave way